Good morning to you, Gloria.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Salama sana.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Habari ya Kenya. Ana uko mbali na microphone yako. Ana umetorokea microphone. Niko sanitize, usiogope, najua Kenya wanaogopa kufa.
Tunaogopa corona, so we are taking precautions.
Iko sanitize, usikuwa na wasiwasi. Imefanywa kitu inaitwa fumigation. Jioni tukitokanga tunachemsha kwa maji. Hope you're well.
I'm well.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Dunia inaje, chief amefika kwenu mabado?
Kwetu? Tuwezi kubali. You know, as we are sensitizing those people. We are telling them that we know our rights and we know what government services look like and where we should spend our money.
It doesn't look like that.
It doesn't look like that.
Anyway, I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself as well. You introduce yourself to these Kenyans who are watching you.
I'm GLORIA ORWOBA.
Na utume salamu.
I'm an active Kenyan. Nataka kutuma salamu to all the followers and everyone out there who's youth and is looking forward to change this country. Yeah.
All right. Asante sana. Mshendu pia salimia wananchi kidogo alafu tujue kazi itaanzia wapi.
Good morning everybody. It's good to be here. You know, sisi ni watu wa kazi. Every time we come here in the morning we want
to mgeni.
Kwani simeniambia ni introduce.
Haya jiongelewe.
Are you not sure of what you want, my brother? I want to say hi to everybody who is listening this morning. We are here again to tell you the truth, that you may not so much fight in the mainstream media. We will tell you what they don't want you to hear, so that you can make an informed decision.
Lakini vile mlifanyia Nyokabi jana kina Lucia haki ya nani? Makosa sana.
No.
Nyokabi alisema hakupewa warning ya kwamba kuna makombora zinatupwa.
No. Let me tell you.
Angekuja na helmet.
Wanakafika hapa wala ni mawe zinaanguka.
Nyokabi was a former women rep. Na yeye ni wakili. Ukikuja show kama hii unakuja umejitayarisha. Umekuja na vitu za kukinga. But then I want to say thank you to Lucia for getting the truth out of the commissioner, because despite working for government, he at some point accepted that this
She was very honest. Alisema yenyewe gava yenyewe ni ngori lakini sawa.
You know. So that's what this show does. You come here, we will get the truth out of you one way or the other. That's basically what happens.
Asante sana. Thank you so much. I just want to appreciate Maridadi Motors. Maridadi Motors, thank you so much for partnering with us. Kama unataka kuosha gari uko pale Kiambu Road, enda Sierra Mall. Sierra Mall kuna mahali inaitwa Spark Clean by Maridadi Motors. Unaenda kimbia pale unapewa I think I still have some vouchers left. I'll see. Kwanza nitapea Mshendu na nipe Gloria. Kanabiri waende waosha magari. Maridadi Motors, thank you so much. Kama unataka gari pia, this is only trusted dealer to do direct imports for you. Kutoka pale Shapani bila pressure. Itwa Maridadi Motors, trust the process. Haya, hii accusations ya kusema ya kwamba chief wanalazimisha watu kusign BBI. Is it true? Mshendu, where you come from?
It is absolutely true.
It's happening in there?
Yes. No, actually, yesterday I was talking to a group of young people from a place called Kalanji, Limuru town. They were invited, they are in the Kazi Mtaani program. They were invited very early in the morning by the chiefs. Apparently they were supposed to be given the new routes. They will go to do cleaning and using the pangas as they normally do. But the first thing you had to do was you had to sign BBI. Sign BBI kama unataka ku remain kwa program. If you do not sign it, you are no longer part of the program. It's unfortunate, it's very unfortunate that we have come to a place where we are coercing Kenyans through extra legal means to have them sign this document. You heard Professor Kibwana last night say that they were being told that they were signing the coronavirus
vaccine.
Yes,
the vaccine,
yes, they will be given vaccines in Makueni. I mean, it is crazy. It is unheard of what this government is willing to do. You know, people think it's a joke when you see people saying that it was very difficult for PPEs and coronavirus related merchandise to reach a place like Chebi Desert in Turkana. But somehow the BBI signing document has found its way to the most remote place in this country. It talks about a government that has its priorities upside down. And it is sad that you have to coerce Kenyans. Have you seen internal memos from PSs of the national
Parastatus,
government.
yeah.
Yes.
And actually, it's not even about the current ongoing signature collection. When BBI was at the thick of things during Corona, we have seen cabinet secretaries and PSs during events, you know, where they are visiting institutions such as Kenya Ports Authority. And you see them, instead of going there to perform the work that they are supposed to go and do, whether it is oversight or the meetings or the gatherings or workshops that they are doing, you could actually see them there trying to tell government officials that, you know, this BBI is a government initiative. And because it's a government initiative, we have to support it because we are civil servants. So they were actually engaged in campaigns for that initiative way before they even started collecting the signatures. So, you know, and that is the time when we asked and we said, as a cabinet secretary, as a permanent secretary, you are supposed to have that political obscurity because your work is to serve Kenyans. Your work is not to push a political agenda for a certain part of the divide. So this thing about the signatures coming, now they're using, it's not even shocking. If they had the audacity, if they had the guts to actually push cabinet secretaries and permanent secretaries and CASs, which by the way, shame on them, to go and campaign for a popular initiative, an initiative that is actually, no, it's not a government service. So one of the other things that was very shocking, I was on set with Mark Bichache, and he came out finally and said, and you know, for me, when Mark speaks, Mark is a government spokesperson.
Oh yeah, the
kabisa. When he said that now we have, you know, this initiative was actually sponsored by government. It is the first time I ever had anybody admit, because remember we were asking, nani analipia kitu? Hizi pesa zinatoka wapi? Munashinda mkitupeleka bomas, kutununulia soda and things like that. Where is this money coming from? Kumbe, this money is coming from our pockets. You understand? So, and he said, yes, it was government sponsored. And then I asked, and I've been asking people, if it is government sponsored, you cannot tell us now at yo kama mnataka kufanya referendum ingine, mtafungua your own, and then mutengeneze your own initiative. And sisi tukienda saizi as the youth, and we start our own initiative that says this is an initiative that we are going to empower the youth economically because they are the backbone of this society, and we want to amend certain parts of the constitution. Are we going to get that same funding that the Building Bridges initiative has gotten from our money, from the taxpayers' money? So it is wrong, even when they keep telling us the ship has sailed and sasa it's time, kama mnataka kuenda, you can convene, ati ni yetu, si hata punguza mzigo ilikuwa yao, so kila mtu anaweza tengeneza yao. The point is, if you are spending government resources and you're not giving us a service, you're spending government resources to push a political process that is of one side of the divide, then we are entitled to question you. We are actually entitled to even ask you, like right now, we want to see audited reports of the representation. Those people who came and said, me as a Kenyan, I want an expanded executive. Can we see a list of them?
Of the proposals.
Yeah, so that we can, because you're spending our money. If you're spending our money, then we can question you. And that is why we are speaking authoritatively and saying, we don't care whether you think your 9-point agenda is what we should have. Those are your thoughts. But because you're spending our money, then we are telling you from the 9-point agenda, you're going to add this other 90 points because you're spending our money.
But you make them 99.
Yes.
And the question is, Gloria, my question is it the way this thing is, the signature has been called, is it legal? When a government says it's a government project, is a constitutional change a government project?
Remember,
and the way they're collecting these signatures, because it needs to be from a willing point.
Yes.
It's a Kenyan, you know, I want this, I don't want this. Is it legal what they are using? The mechanism
my peers who are lawyers and who like saying, you know, the law is clear, I speak authoritatively, they went to school, nini. I'm not a lawyer, and I do not have those masters and those PhDs. But my layman understanding of what a government should provide to the people and the monies they should spend is towards services. Services to be offered. Now I'm asking, if you have spent this money on Building Bridges initiative, as a Kenyan, I should ask myself, what service have I gotten from this initiative? Because when you tell me you're spending money in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, at least I know, at the bare minimum, you are ensuring that if I'm in somewhere in Saudi Arabia or wherever, I can go to an embassy and say nisaidieni hivi na hivi. If you're telling me you're spending money in healthcare, at least I know if I go level 4, level 5 or a government hospital, at the very least a nurse will come and take my temperature. And you know, what services have we gotten from the Building Bridges initiative for them to say that this is a government initiative? Because the objective of government funding is to provide services to its people, and its people being the citizens. So my question to all of these people who say at you know, because it's the president's agenda to push for national cohesion, so he thought this is one of the ways, because he didn't have a ministry of national cohesion, so this is one of the ways that he's going to push the national cohesion because it's under his jurisdiction as the president. I want to ask, okay, Building Bridges initiatives have happened, the business objective being national cohesion. That is the justification that you're saying you spent the money. Can someone tell me how, now me as a Kenyan, I have received, I have actually said, thanks to BBI, me and my colleague who we sit in the office, who we are from different tribes or different political opinions, we can say, now
finally,
finally we can love each other. Thanks to the money that BBI, you understand? It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
Muchende.
You know, Bitok, I have always said,
what is legal and illegal in process?
Let me tell you, the fallacy is that there is someone who sits somewhere and believes that you can actually registrate goodwill. You cannot.
Good manners.
You good manners, tabia mzuri, you cannot registrate. Those will have to be determined by the individual capacity to actually become good person. And let me tell you, I have always said that with BBI, we cannot sanitize this process because it is fraud from the word go. How are we financing BBI? That is a very big question we are asking ourselves. And I always tell you, it is not a coincidence. The time we started Building Bridges initiative, this country spent 1 year without an auditor general. The president spent a whole year waiting to appoint an auditor general despite having been given those names by the Public Service Commission. And you see, this process, the process of amending the Constitution is not wrong. Because I have always said Constitution is a comprehensive document that is alive, that is a document that we can, it is a progressive document that we can amend anytime we want if we feel that by amending it, it is going to change for better in this country. That is not a problem. The problem is the process you use to amend the Constitution. Is that process overboard? And I'll tell you, if you ask the wakilis who have gone to school and to do, it will take like 10 years if we were to change the process. Can you imagine? We are changing. We are going to amend 72 different articles of this Constitution. 72. And somebody has the audacity to reduce that to a yes and no question. Amending 72 different articles of this Constitution.
Is it 72 or 78?
They're actually the major ones, because 72, and then of course you have an article that has more than 3 amendments, an article which would have 3 or more amendments. 72 amendments. It's crazy that someone would want to reduce that to an amendment. You know, we are talking about, the Constitution of Kenya talks about an amendment, not amendments. Yes, it talks about an amendment, not amendments.
Najua historia watasema ile historia ya may and will.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
PhDs and masters, so
I
they
did
are going to
not.
bring
I
that
did not go to.
conversation.
Yes, I did not go to school to do law, but I know this country is part of the Commonwealth countries. We are part of the Commonwealth of nations, and therefore, if we are talking about referendum, and I have insisted this, that the first thing we ought to do is we ought to create a referendum law in this country. If you look at the countries that have referendum laws like UK and other places, if you look at the, what do you call it, judicial, what?
Jurisprudence.
Jurisprudence. I'm not a learned friend. But if you look,
finally, at least we can use a word in law.
Exactly. If you look at Commonwealth nations, and you look at those nations that have actually come up with the referendum laws, you vote on articles. You do not vote like unachukua constitution amendment unaziweka pamoja kama unapika getheri. Alafu you don't do that. You don't do that. Let me tell you, let me give you an example. Today, if you look at the amendment that concerns the Youth Commission, and I've looked at youth commissions in 17 different countries, I probably would say yes to that particular amendment because it touches on the biggest chunk of young people in this country who are not employed, who have not been considered on government top jobs. I would vote yes. But then I would want to say no to the expansion of representation and the executive. But nobody seems to think that I should have that option in the referendum. I should just wake up one morning and just pass 72 different amendments.
And you know, it's funny you talk about that if you look at that amendment on the Youth Commission, you would probably pass it because it touches on the lives of 75% of Kenyans.
Yes.
I would actually not vote for it because it is not actionable. Because the timelines around it, again, it will just be like the 2/3 gender rule, which never really had any, you cannot tie down anybody or there's no timeline, and they can keep saying that, you know, we are still trying to work on it in terms of instituting the Youth Commission. The other reason why I would vote no for it is because I would question that we already have the National Youth Council, and the mandate of the National Youth Council is similar to that of the one that they are trying to put on the Youth Commission. And in fact, the difference between the National Youth Council that is in existence, that has a budget, that has already depleted so much of our funds, that has cartels, I call them the youth cartel, because it's a few of those youth who happened to be in the inner circle, who happened to know someone who knows someone who knows someone who's in the dynasty.
Oh my.
Those people decided, hii ni biashara yetu, na hii kioski yetu, we are going to run it like this, and the profits will go into our pockets, and there's no business there. They are not trying to execute any of the objectives of their mandates. So what will be the difference when we pass another kind of agency that is the same, has the same mandate, that is going to be controlled by the same people? By the Gerald, acha nikwambie venye nilikuwa huko Bomas, ile launch ya BBI. You would have seen in the corner that had at youth representatives, they were sitting on my far right. Now Itanga Youth Cartel, because that corner had people who've been paid for the last couple of years to appear to push the youth agenda, to appear to sort of bring that inclusivity in terms of government, whether it's in elective seats or in the executive. And when Nani stood up and spoke, what is that guy, Alex?
Yes.
Matere
gave a very powerful speech, and talked about all those things that people who go to school to study masters and PhDs, and quoted all those people that he was quoting. Some of the quotes were wrong. At the end of the day, can you show me where Alex Matere is now? And after that launch and his powerful speech where he received his allowance, ask him whether he is empowered. Ask him whether, other than the fact that they are called once or twice to go and sit and appear youthful in this initiative.
What do you mean appear youthful?
Ask him even if he truly believes in that youth commission. Those same people will tell you, unajua sasa hii BBI, you get on board. The best thing is to get on board because when this youth commission is passed, because we are the initiators of the, you know, they truly believe
Pale mbele utapata kakiti.
Hata sisi tutapata kakiti tukae pale because it's a youth cartel. They don't care about the other
But the
people.
question is, even Gloria, to talk about it, we give practical solutions to other people. When it comes to young people, we give them promises.
Exactly.
We are expanding the executive. It's very practical. Like when you get to power, you're going to be a prime minister, you're going to be this and this. But the young people are telling them, you guys relax, we'll give you a commission that will look into the issues.
And hata hiyo commission hawatuambii, as much as wanajaribu kusema we are going to have representative down to ward level and this, they are not telling us what that commission will do that is so different from this National Youth Council. In fact, the only difference that I can state out is that the National Youth Council that we have now sits under the Ministry of Youth. It was Youth and Gender before. And so it is not autonomous. Basically, kwa wale wajaenda shule kama wengine wetu sisi hatuna masters, it means that if they want to do some activities, they have to go where? They have to go to the minister, and then get those approvals. But then the youth commission that they are now proposing, the difference between that and what is in existence is that the youth commission is going to be an independent state agency that is autonomous. Meaning, it is going to stand on its own, it will have its board, it will have its people. Again, the youth cartel will be able to control it and do with it whatever it is they want to do with it without the oversight of the what? Of the cabinet secretary. So, but other than that, you can't... Huwezi sema ati tukiletewa hiyo youth commission sasa hii shida ya unemployment yenye tuko nayo, you know, that we don't have jobs or that kazi mtaani is not the solution. You can't say how that youth commission is actually going to sit down and say we are going to push for social enterprises, we are going to push perhaps to even bring foreign investors to come and pump in money to these youth groups or youth whatever that we have. You can't actually bring it down to solving the problems being unemployment, the problems being underrepresentation. Like now, if you're talking to any youth, they'll tell you, I would like to vie. You know, those when you wamejitokeza, wanakwambia I want to vie. I want to, mi naona ni kama naweza kufika hiyo kiti ya MCA. Naona ni kama naweza kufika kiti ya MP. But beyond that, you ask them, so utasaidika vipi? Do you have someone to help you put your brand together? Do you have something? Is there an institution you can go to government where they can give you electoral laws? Where you can start understanding how to campaign, where you can... Hizo vitu zote zenye tunatafuta, the real things that we are actually looking for in terms of underrepresentation of the youth in elective politics, they are not being addressed. So, at the end of the day, hata mkitupatia your youth commission, we know very well the people who are going to be in that youth commission. We know that the children of the dynasties are going to be given that commission. We know that they are going to bring their relatives. We know that they are going to trade it with the akina Alex Matere huko wakiambiwa waseme speech. We know that they are going to be told, thank you very much for showing that you are nini, ka hapa kwanza uonyeshe. That's the thing.
You're also saying we have commissions. When you're talking about building bridges, actually, we have NCIC. They're supposed to build bridges for Kenyans. It's a very independent commission. Then why has it not worked? Why do we need a document?
You know, this government sometimes is a very serious joke. You know who is the chairman of the National Cohesion Committee in Parliament? Of all the people, Maina Commander. And that is the day you realize that this country is a serious big joke. Just imagine that the Jubilee government has given the leadership of the National Cohesion Committee in Parliament to Maina Commander. And that is when you realize that sometimes they are a very serious joke. Because you do not, Maina Commander and Cohesion, Maina goes south and Cohesion will go north. They can never meet somewhere. These are some of the things we are saying that when you look at the Katiba 2010, what has been implemented and what hasn't, you realize the biggest chunk of this constitution has not been implemented. And you ask yourself, why do we really need that particular BBI to come and amend the constitution? I've always said that if today's constitution was well utilized and Kenyans got to know that this Katiba has been well utilized, and you approach Kenyans and you tell them, we want to expand the executive so that we can be able to deliver better than we have done. Kenyans will not have a problem with expanding an executive. But the current executive as it is a total failure. You want to tell Kenyans to come and expand a failure. That is what you are telling us.
Let's expand.
Not only in ile kitu tunasemanga wale wa PhD, you want to fund government to scale up mediocrity. Because you are so mediocre at this point.
You want to motivate mediocrity.
We want to scale it. We want to scale it.
You want to make it bigger.
Yes, we want to make it bigger because it's too small.
So it can serve you better.
Exactly.
All right, Muchendu.
You know these things, and I'll tell you. You saw yesterday that Parliament debated a motion on putting a caveat on the PPEs. Doctors are dying. The Minister for Health the other day stood and told us that he has given directive that whatever is in the KEMSA warehouses must be sold at the current market value. KEMSA has gone to court and refused to sell the merchandise. This country, we have serious issues that needs government to look at. Look at our Kenya shillings. I told you the other day that every day you hear that the value of the Kenya shillings has dropped with 1 shilling. Our debt increases with 35 billion every day. And the Kenya shillings the other day has reached its all-time low. That tells you that our economy is on a downfall trajectory. But this government is not interested in an economic recovery program. They are so much invested in a document that, for lack of a better word, it's supposed to be this miraculous thing that is going to overturn the economy of this country, that is going to make me love my brother from the other tribe magically like this. It is like bringing two. You remember when we were in high school, we would have the magnets and everything to scoop things in the laboratory that even if the fume chamber is crossed and you want to steal something, you will use that magnet. It is like this document is a magnet of it is gonna stack me and BITOK like this. Na sisi tutakuwa marafiki forever and ever
Chanda
and
na
ever.
pete.
Chanda na pete. That is what they are telling us about this document. But I will tell you, if there is a country that has an influx of laws, it is this republic.
By the way, let me ask a question now that you've brought that. And I had Governor Nyang' Nyong'o being asked this question. Aka fumble hapo akatuambia vitu aziko na Kiingereza and he didn't answer it. Kiprofessor aliulizwa. Sasa, because our issue has been post-election violence, yeah? Our issue has been that every 5 years when we go to the ballot, we need another 2 years to recalibrate because people are feeling aggrieved. Tunaenda kwa streets ni akaulizwa sasa, how is this Building Bridges initiative going to solve that problem? How is the expanded executive going to solve that problem? Akasema vitu aziko, you know, and I was really hoping at least give me something. And they were talking about, you know, if there's no winner takes it all, then everyone feels as if wamepata something small. And that shows you that the Building Bridges initiative is not a process that is neutral. They're looking at it when they say if everyone gets something, what they really mean is if Raila Odinga happens to go to the ballot against William Ruto, and William Ruto wins, and Raila Odinga thinks that maybe there was a flawed process. At least because we understand his nature, akipewa prime minister, and we have seen when he was a prime minister, he'll be okay. Akipewa leader of the opposition, na iekwe office na ipewe funding, he'll be fine. But now, people asked, wakienda William Ruto, waende Raila Odinga, na wende, let's say, for instance, hata huyo kivuta kibwana, ama let's say, hata, you know, people are underestimating Governor Sonko, lakini Governor Sonko akisikia tu akisikia tu zimemwamsha, aseme now he's vying and he goes and mobilizes because we know he mobilizes. And two of the other people who are not Raila Odinga feel that their election was stolen. How will this expansion of the executive ensure that those other two people don't go to the streets
without a problem?
So, you know, and they were trying to say, you know, it reduces the risk because once everyone feels like they are part of the process and that they are getting something out of elections, then it means that we are going to have a reduced risk of people going to the streets. But is that really why we go for elections? And the issue has never been about people not getting something out of the election. The issue has always been about the nature of how we conduct our elections, meaning the transparency of the processes that we have, the independence of the processes that we have. So if we are truly honest that BBI was now, we are saying, umeenda hospitali umeambiwa uko na malaria. Kama uko na malaria, how is it naenda kukupatia dawa za cancer? You understand?
Yeah.
So if tumeenda hospitali na tumeona shida ni, people are saying elections out zinaibiwa nini things like that, then we should come back and BBI actually out of the 72 amendments that are being done, we should have been seeing a large percentage of those amendments addressing the electoral laws addressing the IEBC. But tunaona waliguzaguzia IEBC ati commissioners tutafanya hivi tufanya wachana na hiyo, but then they didn't really go to the muscle of it, because remember, people will come and say nimeibiwa kwa sababu number one mulikataa kufungua servers. If we had a law that could clearly stretch out the process of this is how we are conducting elections, this is how people are going to cast their vote, this is how the ballots are going to be handled, this is how the procurement process of even the material of elections are going to be. If we had, because hapo ndio mashida zinaanza kukuja tio, kuna makaratasi sijui zilinunuliwa Dubai zikapelekwa wapi sijui center gani. If you truly address those issues, then no Kenyan would be fighting a referendum that is addressing all the issues that we as citizens have witnessed and seen that this is the problem. So my point here being, hiyo kitu nimesikia watu wakisema ati tuwekewe hizo amendments zote 72 ama ni 78, however many they are, and we append our signatures against the ones that we think this is what our country needs at this point. That is a very brilliant idea, and I believe it never came from a professor or a master's degree holder. It just came from a person who's like, guys, common sense must prevail. Not everyone wants an expanded executive. Not everyone wants for you to touch on the independence of the judiciary. Not everyone wants you to meddle with the National Police Service. And even those women who you want to give an extra 180 or is it 200 seats munawarushia ni kama ni, you know, that episode for Oprah, you can get one, everyone can, kila mtu anaweza pata, you know, that is not empowerment.
It's addition, first of all.
Empowerment is when I know that I am competing equally with Muchendu, who is a man, and I am actually getting that seat on merit. And when I get that seat, you will not come here and call me a flower girl. And by the way, this is the reason I wear my flower every day, to remind you, I can be a girl who has a brain, and it doesn't mean I'm a flower girl. Lakini if you start throwing free things, free goodies at me, hivyo ndio mnatudharau, na hivyo ndio tukikuja parliament tunaambiwa flower girls simameni pande hii, na wale wengine wenye wako na maso msimame pande hii. You understand? Yeah. So I think for me, let us just be honest. And by the way, when Kenyans are being told, go and append your signature, you could be selling your liver. You could be selling your land. You could, in fact, you could be selling your child. Ukiambiwa tipande hii ni BBI signature pabe, what do you mean? We kazi yako tu ni kwenda kuappend. Mwambie kitu ya kwanza, umwambie akikwambia pande hii ni signature, mwambie nipatie hiyo kitabu ya BBI 3 nisome before niweke signature. That's how you end this thing, because hawana hizo vitabu. Yeah.
All right, Muchendu.
You know,
the deputy president, now that Gloria has mentioned about the DP today, anapatana na MPs, 150 MPs who are supporting him. And he has been accused of being the new Kalonzo, new watermelon. Liona Altanjana Kasema is the new watermelon.
But Bitok, has at any given time the deputy president ever supported or said against that document? The deputy president has never supported. He has never objected that document. Somehow he has found himself somewhere that he has never taken a stand on the document. You know, you would call somebody a watermelon if today I took a stand saying the document is good, then tomorrow I say the document is bad, then tomorrow I say the document looks like the watermelon of this particular document should be Musalia Mudavadi. He is the one who has been, it is good, it is bad, it looks like it is good, you know. So therefore, you cannot accuse the deputy president of actually taking any position regarding this document. And today, as he meets his allies, I still think and I still believe he will still insist on consensus. He will still insist on an contested referendum. And I will tell you, the people, it is like the way you just wish. I wish Bitok will oppose me in a debate. They are praying day and night.
Naomba kabisa.
Wanaomba karibu waende kufunga, kuomba na kufunga for the deputy president to say no to this document. Because kuna watu wamekaa wamefanya mahesabu pale Gigiri kwa ofisi ya mama fulani hapo. Wamefanya mahesabu ya how much money they will make out of this BBI. But inakaa the deputy president anafanya githeri yao imwagike kwa sababu he is not fighting this document. We have Mother Karua, we have other people who have come out with the Rinda Katiba initiative, but the proponent of BBI are still not satisfied that the deputy president has not come out to oppose this document. And they are trying every trick on the book to have him oppose this document. You cannot...
But he has been critical on it. Why
No.
choosing to oppose it?
Let me tell you, being critical of this document doesn't mean necessarily that you oppose this
Alisema
document.
itaanguka, tutaangusha.
No.
Na unasikia watu wanasema ati, you know, it's as if Martha Karua is not a human being. Ni kama hawezi. It's as if akina Kivusa Kibwana are not politicians. So people are saying ati the BBI no campaign is a headless snake without DP. Sasa nini, honestly, you sit and you're like, kwani these other people, those are not heads.
No, let me tell you, the way they are putting it, it is a pure and true confirmation that they know where the serious campaign and the serious opposition might come from. And therefore, I think what they are telling us indirectly that they fear the deputy president. They feel that the deputy president should be the target. And I think it is very wrong for me to reduce a constitutional amendment of a national document to a contest between William Ruto, Raila Odinga, and other people.
And Gerald, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Now that Muchedu has brought that up, it is an insult to think that Martha Karua is a nobody when it comes to matters constitution. It is an insult. It is an insult to think that when the likes of Gerald say and Boniface Mwangi and what we call these human rights activists, when they convene together and they come and they read a document and they aggressively pick out things that are flawed in that document, it's an insult to, actually an insult to the people of Kenya to say, oh, those are nobody, tunangojea Ruto apinge hiki tu. Because when you put the likes of Martha Karua side to side with William Ruto on matters constitution, on matters legal affairs, surely hapo heavyweight ni Martha Karua. And you know, the thing that I really personally I wish and I would appeal to the deputy president to oppose this thing. I am one of those people who would want to see him going out like he did during the last referendum to oppose this thing, because I believe that is the right thing to do as a person who is standing and speaking for the hustler, as a person who's standing and purporting to share the views of the nobodies in this country. I believe and I hope that he would come out strongly.
But what if he doesn't, Gloria?
This.
What will you still think of him?
If he doesn't,
what happens to the hustlers? Because I was saying the other day,
no, you can't say
dilemma.
that, because the hustlers are not baba yao si mmoja, baba yao si William Ruto.
Hustlers have several fathers.
We have many fathers. We have many fathers. We have many mothers. We have many sisters. Hustlers wasisikia ati, oh, maybe Ruto because of his walisema he is bound to his line manager who's the president, so he must support the initiatives of the president, and going against those things sijui hiyo kizungu nyingi wenye walikuwa natuambia. So me, I would tell the hustlers, you don't have one father and you don't have one mother. Kivusa Kibwana is there pushing your plight. You understand? Gloria Orwoba is every day sitting and sensitizing people, telling them, ikitu, you are being conned. This is conmanship. There are many other people, like in Gerald say, akina Martha Karua, na bedhe even, ikitu munadharau Martha Karua, ati, oh, is a comeback, nini. Martha Karua is the trump card that is going to changanyisha this election come 2022. Itawachanganisha watu washangae hizi votes zimeenda wapi. You continue, endeleni kudharau wa mama kama Martha Karua. And I'm telling you, those are the people you should be watching. So at the end of the day, even if the king of all hustlers, William Ruto, decides to go a certain direction, that is his. Iyo ni yake. Sisi tunajua vizuri as the youth. The Youth Commission is not going to do anything different from what the National Youth Council is doing now. So as we know, there is nothing in there for the youth. Those 5 expanded seats that they are saying we are going to have prime ministers, who watu wote. Hakuna mahali youth wameambiwa watapewa kiti moja. When it comes to the women, hakuna mahali tumeambiwa you know, so me I tell the youth, it doesn't, wacha kusema ati nita support kwa sababu baba amesupport ama nita oppose kwa sababu William Ruto ameoppose. Weka chini ujiulize ni siku gani sasa utakaa chini ujiulize now.
What is it for me?
Yeah, what is it in it for me? Because like in Alex Matere and all these other youth cartels, them they know why every day they go to studio and push for that thing because they've been promised things. So you, who has promised you anything? Hakuna mtu amekupromise anything. Kwa hivyo wewe hiyo kitu kwanza usijaribu kuenda kupiga kura juu kwa sababu kama hawajadeal na hizo issues za IEBC, you going to vote is actually you going to give them a means to steal a vote. So you stay away from ile kitu yenye Raila alisema, we are going to withdraw our voting power.
And you know,
atupeleki kura kwa sababu tukipeleka kura mnatuibia. Mimi naambia youth msipeleke kura, mnapeleka kura wapi?
Ya kazi gani? Muchende, what do you expect from the meeting today?
Let me first of all look at now that Gloria has brought about the issue of IEBC. One of the major problems that has brought this country to its knees is our system of election. Who has been at the center stage of a failed elections? We always, all of us, blame the IEBC. And I ask myself, isn't this BBI setting out the IEBC to fail? No, listen, in 2 years, actually less than 2 years, the IEBC is supposed to be reconstituted because it only has 3 commissioners today instead of the 7. This IEBC is required to actually execute a referendum. This IEBC, if you look at the schedule in the schedules of this particular amendment, constitutional amendment bill 2010, if you look at Bitok, you look at the schedule of this particular document, the second schedule, section 74, it is saying transnational and consequential provisions. 1, the elimination of number of constituencies. And it says, within 6 months of the commencement date of this act, the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission shall, subject to subsection 2, determine the boundaries of the additional 70 constituencies created in Article 89(1 using the criteria provided for in Article 81D and Article 87(7). This IEBC Bitok is supposed to, first of all, being reconstituted, take up a referendum, actually do a boundary review, which would involve public participation, and successfully conduct the 2022 general election. Are we not setting out IEBC to fail? And then it is very ironical that the 70 constituencies are supposed to be created using the criteria provided for by Article 81 and Article 87(7). What does Article 81 and Article 87 talk about? They talk about the qualifications of a certain geographical area becoming a constituency. This constitution, if we were to implement it to the letter, we are supposed to scrap about 32 constituencies first. Constituencies in Central, we would lose a constituency like Daragwa that does not qualify as a constituency. We would lose a constituency like Madhioya, which does not qualify. We will lose a constituency like Tetu, which does not qualify. We will lose a constituency like, Mokoroweine, which does not qualify. We have quite a number of constituencies that do not meet this criteria. But somehow, we are saving those constituencies, about 36 or 37 of them. We are saving them while we are creating some other 70 constituencies using the same criteria. Why can't we use that criteria, first of all, to look at the 290 constituencies that are already existing? So therefore, you are putting IEBC in a place where you are setting it to fail. And if IEBC fails, it doesn't matter whether BBI is there. If IEBC fails, we will have a failed election. And a failed election means that we are back to square zero, where we have been with these skirmishes. To your question, Bitok, about today's meeting, I expect that the Deputy President and his allies will insist on consensus. They will insist on an uncontested referendum. They will insist that we must not set these people against those. This constitutional amendment must not be us versus them. It must be about Kenyans. It must be about the interest of this republic. It must be the interest of Wanjiko. And I told you that this particular BBI has run away from two major things that are supposed to be at the center of this republic. One of the things that this constitution amendment has run away from is the issue of land. The land issue is the biggest issue in this republic. This particular document has not brought provisions to compel Parliament and the government to make the Dongo Land report public.
And you know what is strange? Out of how many chapters do we have wasomaji wa katiba? How many chapters do we have in the constitution? Is it 18? How many do we have?
It should be 18.
The constitution is there.
I think only 3 have not been touched. Is it chapter ile sovereignty of people?
Yes.
With the people.
With the people. Na hiyo wengine yenye unaona they were very curiously quiet about was the chapter that deals with everything land. What is that chapter? Wasomaji wanaelewa. So na mimi nikakaa chini nikajiuliza kama hii kitu really it's about building bridges. A majority of the conflicts that we have, the historical injustices that we have
is on land.
Even when you go back to 2007, 2008 post-election violence, ndio ujue tulikuwa na how many IDPs, but these things, the conflict at the end of the day, even if we fought about whether it is nani shindwa this election or whatever, it boils down to watu walifukuzwa wapi kutoka shamba zao. It boils down to these people do not belong here, so we want them to go back to where they came from. So it was very, very strange, and I questioned it and I said, why did they stay away from the issues of land, and why did they chapter 5 of the constitution,
yes.
And why did they think that if we are not going to resolve a majority of our historical injustices, and that is why the reason you hear the pastoralists are one of the groups that have come forward opposing it, because you are not really addressing the issue that is bringing conflict amongst the different 47 tribes that we have in this country. So at the end of the day, ile kitu ya kutuambia ati this was about building bridges, first of all, that was the first con game. That was the first thing. Hiyo kitu ya kusema that we needed former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to go and shake the hand of our President Uhuru Kenyatta for us to have peace. That was the number 2 conmanship, because then you are saying, and I'm not afraid of saying this, then you are saying that 50 million Kenyans don't matter. That 50 million Kenyans were not at peace until Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta actually went and had that handshake. In fact, it was very shocking even for the people who were supporting either side of the divide, because suddenly watu walikuwa nasema si hata sisi tuende handshake, kwani us we are not befitting, kwani sisi hatujafika hiyo level, kwani we don't control an amount of influence within our communities. So for me, the handshake might have been the symbol of introducing the initiative, because again, it is politics. We like pomp and glare and symbolism and all those things. But when they came down to drafting a document, when they came down to talking about the actual issues, we were expecting to see that, for instance, the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission was not just going to be mentioned on page 16 of the BBI, but they said in the BBI that we shall implement the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission. Did I need a document to tell me that that is what is needed to be done? When you read the report, the TGRC report, and even the mechanisms that they have put in terms of the things that need to be implemented to ensure we no longer have those kinds of conflicts, and that the victims of that violence were actually compensated and they felt that they got justice, you will see that if we implemented the TGRC report, if we implemented the DU report, if we implemented ile ingine inakuanga ni wako ama inakuanga
kuna wake
Waki report. If we implemented, reported, we are not in deficit of reports. If we just took those, in fact, I was hoping, wangesema we now, we have shaken these hands and we have said we must come together, and what we are doing, we are going back to the shelves
to fix the
taking
skeletons.
all those reports, and we are now going to show the goodwill to implement these reports. And by the way, Bitok, allow me to say this. The reason I keep saying it is conmanship and there's no real good intent. We have certain agencies like the Victim Protection Board. The Victim Protection Board is a state agency that is actually, whose mandate is there to ensure that the victims of human rights abuse are protected, that their cases are heard, that they have legal representation in the sense that, you're not marginalized, you are a victim, alafu bado unakuwa disadvantaged because you don't even have proper representation. That board, it has taken us so long to ensure that that board has taken off, that board is empowered, that board is being given resources. So when you come and say, okay, now we are going to look at the victims, we are going to do this, we are going to do, and yet the frameworks that government has currently are not being empowered. That is what I say is conmanship, because you're actually deceiving us. Yeah.
Right. Hata tuangalie comments tukirudi, twende kwa magazeti. I can see, let me just look it up very quickly. I'll start from Mutayarap Muna says Lucia. All right. Lucia says Governor Muchendu, I'm selling chills. I think ule peana ya Maina Kamanda. Cheptap Kibiri says good morning. Good morning to you. Odobojike Malema sema kwisha sisi. Haya. Lesialo Leteana sema usually like the argument of this man Muchendu. David Kamau, that's the biggest joke ever. Mambo ya Kamaina Kamanda kuwa in charge of cohesion. Jamaa wa disco ya mwenyewe Dan anasema it's a good morning. Good morning to you Dan. Team June anasema the problem started from there. That is on Maina Kamanda being the chair of cohesion. Tarus 2 says GERALD BITOK serious joke with Jubilee government. Christopher Sang anasema Lucia Yero the remote location yako sign on. Alright. Charles Limu anasema which channel is this with you? You are already here. You don't need to tune anywhere. Mutala says ameshafika. Nyaboga Peter anasema I'm watching you from Naivasha. Thank you so much. Manuel Omenge anasema watching from Boston. Thank you so much. Joel Arama anasema Muchendu is practicing selective amnesia. That's on William Ruto. Abbas Njuguna says the DP says he has issues with the document. He has never said it's good or bad in totality. Benedict Okino says Gloria, you deserve to be the youth leader. Alex Matere is a political broker. Right, umeshapewa kiti. George Kinyanju says this forum is for campaigning for Ruto and bashing Uhuru. So sad. Right, I don't know then why you find yourself here every day. Sorry for another day. I will not trust Martha Karua with constitution matters any day. As Joel Arama from the USA. Maskil may say I better things to do with my signature. Amesema hizi peana signature yake. Na Matthias Jeboa anasema Maximali right. Max my friend. Aska Mebur says you nailed the question of gender in BBI Gloria. Dishing out positions to women is not empowerment at all. You say kuatopia. Yes, anasema dishing out appointments is not a solution to women. Joel Rama says do we need politicians to tell us what is wrong or what is right? All right. Max Kimeli anasema GBS laws are not cows. We know why we are supporting WSR. Susan Jerry says I'll vote for Martha Karua. Anasema Piedi Chimsema anasema the silent majority are listening loud and clear. Muhandis Karim says on BBI let politicians stick to one corner and face Kenyans. That would be a straight no. Why? Susan Jiraini says 1 is Ruta, 2 is Martha Karua, 3 nobody. Right. Matthias Cheboy, Gloria is such a wonderful panelist, Iron Lady. Wow. Robert Kidum says Aslas are not cows. Ruta will say is my end. Pia sisi tuko na yetu. Wilfred Theopila says youths have a lot of democracy that we don't know what to do with them. Now we focus on wrong picture, no yes campaigns without talking what we really want, without putting our issues on the table. Mark says Kwanza who told you Ruta is supporting. Lobele Joel anasema what listening, clear and open minds. Thank you so much. Bonisa Longo says BBI is a scam meant to complicate and bring confusion in this country. Punguza Mzigo initiative is the way to go. Makafeli don't say that we are finished. That is on Maina Commander. Makaveli the don anasema toka pale Qatar. William Mwangi is a very sober panelist. That is what we call true patriotism, not love attached by self-interest. Ernest Kiblaga says the BBI is all about next general elections. I differ with anyone who says we will do general elections 2022. It won't be possible if I won't be possible if I told we have referendum come next. If I told this referendum passes and IEBC and public participation need a good time to create boundaries for the new constituencies. Government knows better. They want to remain in power after 2022 and set a later date for the elections. As I said, on the standard, there was the election dilemma. Election day dilemma. Maybe you guys will also have to touch in on that. Maximal says the first election was nullified. Second, Raila boycotted. Why Anshek against nullified elections? He did not participate. If Anshek was to happen, then Ekuru angekuwa na haki. Hiyo yote ni conmanship. DB told us otherwise ni bullshit.
Huyo apewe kwanza soda kubwa. That is a thought.
Maximal amesema ukunywe madiaba. Enes Gula anasema we'll only do our next general election in 2023 beyond. Milton Oguti anasema good morning Tetakor watching from Nairobi hapo. Asante sana Milton Oguti. Emmanuel Omenge, the BBI protagonist, had international sanctions against them, and they had to come up with something to show why they had handshake. It's a fraud. The 9-point agenda is not reflected in the BBI. Joshua Sapusa is waiting for the signal from the ASLA today. All right. Abbas Martin kindly address and let Kenyans know that chiefs and assistant chiefs have been given a target in terms of collecting signatures. They are even forcing people to sign or be denied services. A government using dictatorship on its people for their own selfish. By the way, if you have any case or any scenario where you've been forced to give out your signature, just post on my wall. Post on our address.
In fact, you should please ask them to document it.
Yes.
Well, because tunaonashinda kisema wapi ati uliona
wapi.
Uambie ni wapi.
Mahali unasema lazimisha tell us where it is, your location, post it on my page. Just enda tu pale kwa wall, post it on my wall. I'll look at it and then I'll address that. If you have any issue where a public servant has forced you to give out their signatures, whether it's a parastatal, whether it's in office of chiefs GNN, if you have any of that incident, please post it on my wall. I'll pick it up. Councillor Tarus to I don't trust the document. It's all about conmanship. Yangu in a way election 2022. Alright, amesema hizi peana signature. Oi. Alright, let's talk about the dilemma of voting dates, by the way, before you go to the newspapers even. I'll start with you, Mushendu, because we're just from Gloria, I think.
You know, if you ask me, why should we have a dilemma of...
Are we having elections in 2022?
No, the question is, why should we have a dilemma of the election date when it is clearly specified in the Constitution? I think it is somebody wants to start a narrative where we can start discussing postponement of election. That is utmost disrespect to this supreme document by Kenyan. It is clearly stating when the next election ought to be held. There is nothing that supersedes the right of a Kenyan to elect and choose a leader of her or his choice. Therefore, when this constitution envisioned and put a date of election here, they wanted to safeguard the interest of the larger Kenyan citizenry so that they can exercise their liberty to vote. So therefore, I do not see why we should have a problem with the election date. We have had, in the midst of the pandemic, we have had about 16 or 17 countries undertake their general elections.
Remember at the beginning of this whole building bridges initiative thing, at the very beginning, I think the first document or the first narrative that came out from the when they were testing the waters, they were saying that in the event that they pass these amendments and they expand the executive and they do all the things that they want to do with butchering our constitution, they were saying that then we will need a 1-year transition period where the current leaders and the current president and the current everybody ni kama watakuwa status quo, watakaa hapo kwanza in the guise of helping us transition from one constitution to another. So then I remember having this conversation with my learned friends who are trying to educate me on constitution matters. And they were saying, you know, when you're having an expanded executive and when you're having such serious changes being done, you can't just imagine that you will shift from one type of constitution to the next. So that is the reason we must not have a vacuum of power. So that is the reason that 1-year transition period was being proposed. But in essence, if you ask me, people who have been in power for their personal interests, wamefika mahali, their agendas, their personal agendas, their personal commercial agendas need more time. Hii ni ile kitu yenye umeambiwa by the way Gerald, your term is coming to an end in December, alafu kaamka ukakumbuka my goodness na sijaiba ile pesa ya nini COVID. So you start looking for ways to extend that your term so that you can kind of hata ukipata 12 months hivi 14 months then you can conclude You can conclude your stealing. You can conclude your corrupt ways. You can conclude your legacy, which really is about ensuring that your children and your children's children and your greatest grandchildren, the only thing they have to do is put their feet up and live off of the monies that you have plundered. And for me, I thought to myself, by the way, there's a thing out there that people are saying Tanga Brigade is really doing everything to complicate this thing so that they can buy time until we cannot have a referendum before elections. I would like to clap for that Tanga Brigade, and I want to have more people, the civil society, whoever, waingie kwa hiyo bandwagon, because if the only way we can defeat this monster called Building Bridges Initiative is by causing confusion and delays and everything, then by all means, because at the end of the day, we have to think about it this way. If now we are looking at a situation that someone is trying to mess with our election dates, someone is trying to put this country in a state of anxiety where we don't know who's leading, where we are going, and what someone is trying to destabilize us, then we must fight to protect this constitution, and we must fight to protect the peace and stability of this country. So for me, anybody who is ensuring that we never go back to that state of 2007, 2008, because Gerald, I was in this country, I was very heavily pregnant, giving birth to my 12-year-old son. If I have to think of a situation like that, where I could not even access my hospital when I was in labor because of the fear of being attacked on the way to hospital, where I was nervous about who is operating on me, whether ni Mkikuyu ama ni Mjaluo ama ni Mkamba, whether to the point that after I got out of that theater, which was a very terrifying experience, that I had to ensure that my door was constantly locked, because we don't know who is going to walk in and eliminate whichever side of the tribe that is in conflict. I don't want to be there anymore, and Kenyans don't want to be there anymore. So if 2 or 3 people are thinking that they are going to use the fear narrative, that narrative of, we can't be like South Sudan, we can't be like so and so. Kenyans are very woke. Wanasemanga, au rich kid, wanasemanga we are woke. Kenyans are very, very woke. And we are saying, you're not going to sell that fear narrative. And you're not going to push us to a corner where we feel that the only thing we can do is butcher our constitution so that we don't go back to 2007, 2008. We are woke, yani tumeamka, all of those ones, and we are tunawaangalia hivi tu, tunangojea hiyo referendum muone the way we are going to desist from even showing up to vote.
Right. Mshendu, kuna jambo? Niende kwa gazeti.
I think there is that cabal that believes that this country belongs to them, and this cabal is the same cabal that has ruled this country and has put us on our knees. And I think, as Gloria has said, there are people who have woke up to the reality that their time to control the strings of power in this country is coming to an end. And they will look for everything possible to ensure that they continue holding to that string, including bringing a narrative purportedly to have a discussion about a change of the election date. Well, this, if they were too clever enough to do it, they should have put it in this document of theirs. Yeah, they should have put it in this document of theirs. But because they knew if they put it there, Kenyans will overwhelmingly reject that narrative, they could not put it. But we want to tell them, anybody who is sitting pretty in the office and thinking that he or she is going to change the election date in this country must wake up and think again. Because this is a fundamental right provided for by the Constitution of Kenya. And therefore, nobody should actually sit down. In fact, if it is only the president who has been given a small leeway to change the date, and that is if we have a national emergency. And even so, he can only do it, I think, with 6 months, not more than 6 months. So we don't know which national emergency they are going to come up with, because when they were supposed to declare coronavirus a national emergency, they didn't. So we don't know what emergency they are going to come up with. But we welcome them. If they want to create an emergency,
let
them go ahead and create it. It will only extend the date of election by 6 months. But still, that emergency has to be okayed by Parliament. And we put Parliament on notice. If the President introduces a motion to okay an emergency and you people sanitize it, tupatane kwa ground.
Watajua wajui.
Wacha
tusikie simu. Hello, good morning.
Bwana Bitok, good evening.
Good evening to you, sir.
How are you?
Salama sana, niambie. Huko ni morning.
I know it's morning bwana. Nyinyi watu hamtaki mimi nilale bwana. Unaleta siasa kali sana.
Ya vizuri, najua watu wa diaspora nyinyi ndio mtatuambia hii Kenya kutaenda vipi.
Sasa hii Kenya yetu bwana, mimi I'm very much worried about our country. And I'm worried in one aspect. Kuna kitu inaitwa mti wetu syndrome. At the end of the day, Kenyans, we always run to our respective corners. And respond and protect and support our tribal chiefs. If we are not going to desist from that and see, like Gloria said, ask what does this BBI do for me? If we are not going to ask that question ourselves and be honest and say, you know what, this thing is not working, let's kick it out. We are going to be in the same, and I can assure you 4 years down the line, 2 years down the line, we'll be talking about the same thing, another form of BBI forum or another form of BBI referendum a few years down the line again. But until we acknowledge that all these people have failed us, and we need to kick them out. I don't care who you are supporting right now. And number 1, who you, number 2, and the number 3, nobody. Please, these people have not helped us in any way. They have sold us down the drain. They have amassed wealth everywhere. Yani, you cannot, there is nothing you can tell me that these people, these so-called leaders right now are going to help us. Look at even the parliament, the way the laws they enact. People forget. When the so-called Tangatanga was in power, they passed laws that was providing lethal weapons to police to shoot people for demonstrating for their right. And then a few months later, they forgot, that phrase that says, hey, when you are creating a law, create a law for your worst enemy, because you never know when that law will be used against you. The same people who are shouting, Aginakuri are shouting, oh, we have empowered the police, they should go and buy more tear gas. A few months down the line, wenyewe na Bwana Itumbi ndio walikuwa wanachapa na the same tear gas. You forget kwamba what you do today is going to affect you tomorrow, or is going to affect your children or your grandchildren or somebody else. If we are not going to feel and think in that line kwamba we need to build a Kenya just not only for us, for future generations. I want to be in a place where I win on ideas and I think that I can promise people that I can be able to effectively implement. If I don't do it, social contract, kick me out. But sasa every time tunafika siku ya kura ni kama kila mtu amerogwa. Mtu wetu. Even if mtu wenu kila siku, you have never seen this guy. I told you the other day, I gave you an example of my local MP mwenye he is only seen once during election time. But every time consistently he's still being voted back in. People forget. But until we get to that point whereby we acknowledge these people have failed us and we kick them out, surely, like Muchendu said, how can you put Maina Commander in charge of cohesion? Jamani, it's not even a joke. I mean, please, I feel sometimes I get to a point, these are the same people. Remember, Kenyans forget, remember, the same MPs, when it comes to increasing their benefits and salaries, it's 100% voting and kila mtu ana attend. Hata kama mtu alikuwa anaenda sijui Harambee wapi, siku hiyo hataenda. They will be in parliament, everybody, fully, to vote for their benefits. But when the doctors say, hey, we are dying, we don't have equipment. Oh, the government has no money. Watu wanapiga kelele, police deal with them. And then the same policeman, you go beat somebody, alafu jioni unapigiwa simu unaambiwa, your mother, your sister is sick, she's supposed to be in the hospital. Daktari mwenye ulitandika, ndiye anafaa kwenda kumtibu, atatoka wapi na kumtibu, ulimchapa ako kwa cell. I remember when the COVID started and the curfew, I could not imagine a whole police contingent beating nurses and doctors who are coming off duty just because wamekuwa late for curfew. They have uniform, they have IDs, but you still beat them ati munafungwa because you are late for curfew. Jamani, what happened to us? What happens to our humanity? So anyway, we will talk more. I know I'm looking forward to our session tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I just want to
umepanga
thank you
watu
so much. Watu wangu wajaongea, lakini I hope they will show up.
Panga.
I will remind them again today. I will remind them again. But thank you so much, Gloria. It's nice to see you give a contribution. I just wanted to tell you something. I made a comment, and I want to just for my comment. When I remember what Martha Karua did when she was in charge of the Constitution and swearing in a president in the middle of the night, well, it was not the middle of the night, but samoja usiku, that to me knocks her out from anything. We can have.
I want to tell you that if you can forgive Raila Odinga for ignoring our resist movements and shaking the hand of Uhuru Kenyatta.
Gloria, I've not. That's the thing is, I've not forgiven.
My brother.
If you can forgive Raila Odinga for that very big tuliona, unajua sisi hata tuliacha kukunywa Brookside
karibu mkuve marasa
Safaricom lines hizo vitu. Imagine alafu tukaamka tukaona Raila Odinga atiamenda ati to shake hands and he has accepted and this and that, and we could forgive him. If we can forgive him for that, we can forgive Martha Karua.
But my brother,
Gloria, let me, Muchendu, just give me 1 second.
All right.
Gloria, I will give you a challenge. If Martha Karua can come to Taco and apologize to Kenyans for what she did that time, then we will forgive her. As long as she doesn't apologize, no.
But my brother, I feel like you are actually applying interior motive on the former justice minister, because even with the old constitution, the minister had no role in swearing in the president. The president was sworn in by the then Chief Justice. And therefore, listen, I do not want to imply that Martha Karua did not have a role. Yes, but in the actual fact is that Martha Karua was a servant of the then government. She was an appointee.
Muchendu, this is nothing. You cannot give a business justification to any of this. The only thing I can say is happening is this is an issue of patriarchy.
Yes.
Men can get away with murder. Men can get away with murder, but when a woman sneezes the wrong way, that seems like she has corona, munakuja hapo Kenyans on Twitter, munakuja. No, it is not fair. That one I will stand with Martha Karua. We have forgiven men for worse crimes. We have forgiven Raila Odinga for the worst that you can imagine. And so mtapona hii kitu ya Karua, mpone, you bring her back on board. Mtapona.
But then the best years of Moi Kibaki was actually after he was sworn in that second swearing-in ceremony. That is the best we experienced in economy recovery process. You know, I'm just saying. Yes.
Muchendu,
yes.
I get your point of economics, but my image cannot erase the bodies of kids who are piled at city mortuary and other mortuaries, images online and everywhere else. That one cannot get out of my head.
Unfortunately,
now, Gloria,
the
I'll go back to your
culprits.
point.
Let him go back to the point. Yes.
Real quick. Gloria, instead of why are you championing Martha Karua and you are there capable to do everything? Jamani, why do you people...
Let me tell you why.
Push other people when you are there?
No. Let me tell you why. There is this notion that people believe that all women are there to sabotage their fellow women. I'm not that kind of a person. I believe that Martha Karua, in her rightful senses, actually can lead this country. And I believe that Martha Karua is a force that we should reckon. And just because I'm also in the same space trying to create, you know, sisi hapa tuko youth, tunajaribu, we are struggling, we are amateurs, we don't even know what this propaganda looks like. She is the reason why some of us can come to this studio and speak authoritatively. She paved that way for some of us. So I respect that. And I want to say that this thing of patriarchy, where men can get away with murder, but women cannot get away with wearing a flower on their head. We need to stop it. So forgive Martha Karua please, we are in 2020. Tumeshapona, tumesema
hata wale wenye walipigana wamesalimiana.
Yes,
kina baba
tumesalimiana kina baba, tumerudisha Safaricom lines na tunakunywa Brookside. So now let us move forward.
Haya,
tunatumia gasi ya inaitwa nini Spectra.
Gloria, leta Martha Karua kwa tako. Leta Martha Karua kwa tako. We need to tackle on tako.
Wanakuja next week. Wanakuja kikundi ya Linda Katiba inakuja next week. Martha Karua, Cheruto Chei, David D, they'll be here next week. So ndio utauliza sasa swali ni wapi waliingiliana na hii maneno.
Yeah, that one. Mimi si hata sita muuliza swali. I just wanted to apologize. Even if I find Raila, if you bring Raila today to tackle, I'll tell him the same thing. He needs to apologize to Kenyans.
Utaambia nini baba akikuja?
Akikuja nitamwambia omba msamaha. You need to apologize.
Sasa yeye lakuja baba aseme pole.
Lazima. Same thing, even if it's William Ruto, I'll tell him the same thing. If it's Uhuru Kenyatta, my fellow Kenyans, I'll tell him the same. You bring Musalia Mudavadi, I'll tell him the same, because these are people who have failed the country.
All right.
They need to apologize to Kenyans.
Asante sana ndugu yangu. Thank you so much for coming in. Salimia watu wa diaspora.
Haya,
na upange kazi ya kesho haraka upesi.
Ndio niingia sasa, hii mtandao naanza kutuma messages.
Sasa ndugu yangu, have a good evening.
Okay.
Haya, wacha tuangalie gazeti. Gazeti ya Standard Headlines inasemaje? Gazeti ya Standard Headlines inasema Standard Rotich was fixed. Rotich amerudi and Rotich amekuja amesema was fixed. Aliwekelewa anasema was fixed. Ni Andrew Rotich amesema was fixed. Anasema sacrificial lamb for over 5 years. Unacheka Rotich. Ya mpendi amani. Haya.
Is that news? It has been a catcher since independent government.
Yeah, amefunga jiji siku zote. Leo ndio sasa gazeti inasema he was whatever. And for over 5 years, former Treasury CS Andrew Rotich was one of the most sought after persons in government. Then came the big cloud over Aurora and Kimorer dams. Now he tells court he was made the sacrificial lamb in a project he had no procurement control over, and that he had been sanctioned at cabinet level. All right. Naona pia Kemsa Shem as PP wrote away. Amesema PP is in a wrote away pale Kemsa. Kenya sends 5.9 billion equipment and supplies left to rot at agencies' warehouses as investigations drag on, exposing health workers on the string of coronavirus. Naona hapa pia hapo juu inasemaje? Inasema state workers to lose jobs in IMF deal, singing the tune. Thousands of parastatal workers could be rendered jobless as the government implements reforms to cut waste, which involve dissolution and mergers of hundreds of corporations to meet IMF's lending terms. All right, now tuko at the whims of IMF. Na machingu bado hajafika. Entertainment, naona athletics inasema athletics race to invest in schools. Former model Kongong Kenya's athletic big shots are investing in their answer field and track winnings in education sector, building schools within their communities. All right. Artists step up to Harvest Awards is Battle Royale in male video, female video, hip hop video, and best group of the year categories in pulse music. Yeah, in mambo ya youth man. Naona gazeti ya People Daily inasema death threats cited in Kenyan shilling 7.6 billion KEMSA tenders. Anasema kuna watu ambao walitishiwa maisha kwa mambo ya KEMSA scandal. John Manjari, naona Johnson Sakaja pale na Charles Juma. MPs told our suspended CEO Manjari hosted Sakaja in his office as he intimidated and coerced top managers to issue commitment letters for procurement of COVID-19 related items despite being warned of lack of funds. Wow. Haya, Biden jana amepigia simu anko Unye, amesema page 4 US leader offers support war against terror, climate change and refugee programs. Huyo ni Biden ameahidi anko. Anasema Biden calls Uhuru pledges support for Kenya's causes. Ruto to stop DCI, stop dangerous games. Ruto ameambia DCI kwa mambo ya post-election violence ya 2007-2008. Naona Doreen Apopia, HIV is a tiny virus given much power. Born with the virus 28 years ago, activists has never let that fact pull her down. She has lived a full life and is pushing for normalization of the discussion around it. I think ni mambo pia ya jana kulikuwa na World AIDS Day. So kuna Doreen Mora hapo. Na Doreen alisema muache kupima na macho. Wanaume muache kupima na macho. Haya, order 6,600 teachers to be recruited in COVID stimulus. Haya, turn to page 2 here, the People Daily. TSC unveils plan to recruit over 6,000 intern teachers. Kuna mambo pia hapo ya nene. Kuna Biden pledges aid in Uhuru, Manduku, 6 more evidence in priority trial. Ruta rebukes Kinoti on probe of PEV cases. Busia can be reserved for the next 3 months. Ni mambo ya county government. BBI signatures 2 million ahead of Friday's deadline. Nasema ifika milioni ngapi? Milioni igere. Ruta hints at progress in consensus building talks. So I think there's some things that you've talked about that you expect that these guys will continue pushing for a consensus. Kenya saying 7.6 billion Kemna deal was a matter of life and death, I was told. Ni watu vile alisukuma deal pale Kemsa. Man links unending host to Mavokoland. I think stories za gazeti zimeisha hapo kidogo. Pale Taifa leo inasema watermelon mpya. Ameweka William Ruto hapo, watermelon mpya. Sijui mzee ilikuwa gani. Alafu Dennis anasema murder threats in the COVID billions theft plot. Na pia up for grabs now 6,600 internship job 500 hiyo ni mambo ambayo tumeona ya gazeti. Wacha tuone page 2 ya The Standard. State jobs cut looms in Yatani deal with IMF. We are now at the whims and the mercies of IMF. Wamesema we cut down the parastatus and we're going to do that to survive. COVID vaccine, rumors drive amid trickle of pandemic facts. COVID essentials that KEMSA has just revealed. Now Kenya is stand on corona vaccine. Alafu kuna sacrifice in the dam scandal to details court. Gideon intensifies BBI campaign for more signatures. Jana alilaunch pale Baringo. Ruta it's out at DCI boss over PEV cases. All right, guys. What some of the headlines that we've looked at? I would want you guys to start picking on them. Wacha nianze na Muchendu, alafu turudi kwa Gloria.
Well, najua the former CS Finance anasema ati alikuwa sacrificed. Is that news really, honestly? The practice of a certain family since 1963 to date, it is to use and dump. It is the same case that is facing William Ruto today. William Ruto has helped a certain cabal to get to the place they wanted to do. Now they can do away with him. So I keep on saying that once you're given a government job, do it diligently. Do it as it should be. Because tomorrow when the law come calling, it will not be that you give reasons you are sacrificed. You are the CS for finance. If you signed on money that was not well articulated, that is a cross that you need to carry as the person in charge of that docket. So therefore, I wish him well. But let him remember, those days he was, you remember, I sat here and I told you that the merger between the Commercial Bank of Africa and the NIC was supposed to earn the taxman 1.6 billion. As a certain levy that was levied on unregistered mergers because one of the merging bank is not registered in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. But this guy, to praise the head of state, did a gazette notice giving that merger a waiver and not paying the taxman the money that should come to help us. He has been on record trying to praise the president. And when the DCI came calling and the anti-corruption came calling, the president and the government just folded their hands. Now anasema, there is a song tulikuwa tunaiba him. Kila mtu ataubeba msalaba wake mwenyewe. I think the CS ought to carry his cross bila kelele, asipige kelele, abebe hiyo msalaba yake pole pole. Na ifikishe akifungwa that is up to him. In this country, when you are given an opportunity to serve the public, please, especially the young people, when you're given an opportunity to serve this republic diligently. Do not be cowered by a certain person. But then the most unfortunate thing, as Gloria had said here, who are these young people who have been given these jobs? They are they are the very people who are
youth cartels.
Youth cartels, and they have been there for a while, these youth cartels, and we know why they've been given those positions. It has nothing to do with their skill set. It has nothing to do with their patriotism. It has everything to do
with their place.
Yes, and who they were trying to please, and the rewards that they are being given. This is that thing of we reward everything but hard work and skills.
You know, I think the problem here is that the moment you are not given a job in this country on merit, we do not expect you to exercise diligence. Because if I gave you a job BITOK that is not based on merits, it means that I can control you to do whatever I want. In fact, I dare say most of the people being given senior jobs in this country are simply stooges. They do not think on their own. They are the case of you fast jump, and then while you're doing it, ask how high you are. And I think that is a problem. When you look at the issue surrounding the former CS, it is because he did not diligently do his job. He did not, you remember we were part of those people who are questioning the Eurobond and what have you and all those things. Why, as the CS for finance, he okayed some of these things. Look at the tax regime in this country. It is not favoring the small business. It is not favoring the medium enterprise. It is only favoring, if there are tax reliefs and tax cuts, they are only going to the multinational major companies in this country. This is a tax regime that was oversighted by that particular minister. Why? Because he came up with regulations that only helped those in power to continue remaining in leadership, in terms of business, in terms of politics, in terms of everything, including the youths. Today, the current cabal is busy grooming their kids to become the cabal of tomorrow. And therefore,
a transition of cabals.
Yeah, no. I told you, and I will say again, when we got the independence, my grandfather was fighting for independence in the forest. Well, the son of a paramount chief, the colonial chief, was being educated in the UK. So therefore, when we sent the white man home, the only capable replacement for that white man was that son of a colonial chief who was able to go to Lancaster, who was able to go to Germany, who was able to go to Russia and get study. It was the replacement that we did. And I say this, look at who became our president. We brought a president who had stayed over 10 years in Britain in the name of His Excellency Jomo Kenyatta. Look at the people who made up to be minister. Former chiefs, Kina Koinange, you know, look at where isn't Musalia Mudavadi a transmission of one cabal to the other? Isn't Raila Odinga a transmission of a former ruling cabal to another? Isn't Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta a transmission of a former cabal to the current cabal? We can name a whole list of those people who are today ruling this country. You look at the origin and where the lineage they are coming from, they are the people who benefited with the colonial government, and they continue to benefit today. So therefore, it is not a wonder, as Gloria has said, that they are talking about changing the election date so that their plans to actually do a transmission of one cabal to the other is put to motion, and it is executed in a way that Kenyans may not understand. That is why I keep on saying, this particular document, and I want to be, the next time we sit here, we will talk about the schedule in this amendment bill that has redistributed the constituencies. And I will tell you how those constituencies are distributed in such a way that particularly 7 to 10 families that have been on the leadership in this country will benefit from the new constituencies.
Wajia naona watu washaanza kuingia pale Karen, saying the governors, the MPs and governors have already started arriving. Ona Mandago wako pale, naona kaza kuona Kathundu MP, Moses Kuria, ona mama Northeastern, naona Aisha Juma baada kwa area. Nilikuwa nafikiria alikuwa ameweka Kisimbani. Naona Aisha Juma iko pale, naona Millicent Omanga, Emilio Manga, naona watu wamefika kabisa. Alright, I'm saying guys have arrived. Nimeona Jackson Mandago is there. Alright, nimeona wabunge washaingia tayari Caleb Kositany na kuona watu kule Moses Kuria, Governor Nanoka, Governor Sang, naona tayari washafika. Alright, hiyo safari tutajua ni nini inaendelea pale.
Hata Baraka nili senator pale nimeona ameingia.
Alright, Gloria, the question is, and
I wanted to point out back to Mushedu's conversation. I don't think it is an issue of so-and-so's daughter or so-and-so's relative, being passed on the mantle. The issue, as you said, is when you're getting these jobs, there has to be a sort of level of consideration of your skill set, so that you're actually getting a job in government because of your skill set. For instance, when you look at Raila Odinga's children, when you look at Rosemary, she's very bright. She's very, she in terms of policy and governance, she's on point. Actually, ameweza hata anaweza fika level ya kucampaign. You understand? To the point that hata huyo akisaidiwa kidogo baba yake aende asimame aseme simtapatia nani kura, it is not necessarily a bad thing because she's capable and she has the skill set. But when you look at what is happening within those government appointments and things like that, unapata mtu mwenye hata, like you said, has been in the diaspora 100 years. You understand? Doesn't know, can't even speak Swahili, can't even articulate the issues of the people. Alafu anakuja anaekwa sasa yeye ndo amekuwa the chair or the CEO of a certain parastatal in this country. So what we are questioning is not, because you see, these people also have children. And these people, yes, their children are also aspiring to make something out of their lives and to be patriots of this country. We are even saying, even if Musalia Mudavadi's children come and they say they want to lead that National Cohesion Commission, let us at least see that umeweza, uko na skills, you have something to offer. It is not just your name that you're offering. It is not just that your lineage and that dynasty that you're coming to bring at the table. So, because, when you have that conversation and you say, these people are giving their children jobs, nini, you cannot then separate the fact that William Ruto's daughter is sitting in an embassy somewhere. You see, because and if you say that once wewe ni mtoto wa hao watu wako in government, you cannot be in government, you're also being unfair. We understand that some of these children or some of these we'll call them inheritors of power. We understand that some of them are skilled. What we don't want to see is that you are actually getting an appointment based on your last name or based on the fact that you are so-and-so's PA for how long, and now we have given you this job. Because at the end of the day, we are going to actually hold you accountable for the responsibilities of that particular job that you're holding.
On the papers, also, Gloria, loans are catching up with us. IMF has given us very strict conditions. One of the conditions is that we need to dissolve some parastatals, and a lot of Kenyans are going to lose.
Absolutely.
Now, but Chinese bado hawajafika. Hiyo ni IMF.
Even before being told by IMF that we need to dissolve some parastatals, we have been singing this song. And I think this is why Punguza Mzigo came. You look, they collapsed brand Kenya and wakaishikanisha na ile sijui Kenya export nini kona jina refu. And the mandate really is
Kenya Export Promotion Council.
Jina refu nini wakajaribu because they were also trying to keep the workers and give them some sort of responsibility. That was one way to do it. But look at what Uwezo Fund is. You have Uwezo Fund and then you have Youth Fund, and these two agencies are operating independently, yet when you look at their objective and what they're trying to achieve is the same. So I know that there's a bill that has been tabled. I think they've gone as far as gazetting it, where now they want to collapse Uwezo Fund and Youth Fund and I don't know which other funds and what wazishikanishe pamoja, and then they call it I don't know, they are going to find another catchy name. So yes, we need to go to tourism, by the way. You have the Kenya Tourism Board, then you have the Tourism Fund, Then you have sasa kuna ile ingine walitengeneza
Magical Kenya.
kuna ile ingine walitengeneza which has now the mandate of just bringing in conferences. It's called national, I don't know, which now their work is just to ensure that the conferences that are out there are coming to imagine there's just an agency, hiyo ndio kazi yao. And then when you look at under the Ministry of Tourism, the number of independent state agencies that are under that ministry is insane, and they are all doing the same thing. Tourism Fund and Kenya Tourism Board, at one point their mandates there's a lot of gray areas. And imagine those people, they have a board which of course every time they sit they get allowances. They have a CEO which of course comes with security, which of course comes with allowances. They have, each of them have like a whole organogram where they have all these people working. So we tuko flooded na mavitu nyingi zenye hata zi make sense. Where and actually where we should be paying attention now, according to the Big Four agenda which the president wants to use as his legacy, is on affordable healthcare and manufacturing. Hiyo ingine inakuanga ilikuwa affordable healthcare, manufacturing, housing and industrial. I mean, you see, on that we are struggling. You see, we are struggling.
We can remember the 9 points very easily because that's what is marketing.
We are struggling because you mulituanzia na vision 2030 mukatushtua huko sijui you are going, you dropped you said forget about that one. Then mukakuja hapa sijui Big Four agenda mmewacha mmeingia mnatuchanganisha us who don't have PhDs. Just give us 3 points. And for me, I think if our focus is on this Big Four agenda, at least maybe that is where we should be seeing efforts in terms of the state agencies being empowered, in terms of autonomous institutions that are being given resources to push that agenda. Lakini sasa tuko hapa BBI, tuko Big Four, tulikuwa na vision 2030.
There's always something new.
There's always something new. We can't keep up. We can't keep up.
All right. Muchendu, please give your final remarks as you also give us your tackle of the day. Then we go back to Gloria.
I think it is important to actually deal with the parastatal menace.
By the way, even let's talk about the strike, the doctor strike that's coming up.
Yes.
The looming strike.
Yes.
Doctors have not been paid all this time. Those are frontline workers, and you're talking about money that is going elsewhere.
I think I keep on saying that we have a nation that has its priorities upside down. I was listening to the chairman and the secretary general of the doctors union, and they were lamenting that their issues needs to be taken care of now. Somebody somewhere telling us that we have enough money to do a referendum is all right, but doctors are in the front line to deal with the pandemic that has hit this republic. What is the government doing exactly to actually address the issues raised by the doctors? Other than just talking about BBI, and I'm also very disappointed with the mainstream media because the issues of the doctors have not been given the airtime they deserve in the mainstream media, because we are in the midst of an international pandemic. We should not be talking about doctors not being paid. We should not be talking about doctors' allowance, promotions, and all sorts of things not being addressed. In fact, the doctors and the nurses and all the medics, they are the frontline workers today that are addressing a pandemic that has almost brought our economy to its knee. So therefore, this should be the first priority. As much as we are talking that we want to amend the document, we want to amend our constitution, which it is actually nothing wrong with it amending, but what is our priority as a public? What is our priority as Kenyans? The priority should be taking care of the first-line workers in this pandemic, and that is the doctors. So I think this government, even as you do other things, kindly consider that doctors are working to ensure that we deal with this pandemic. They are working to ensure that we actually save lives. So therefore, this government has a responsibility to take care of the needs and the issues raised up by the doctors. So I think there should be no shortcut. There should be no other way about it. It is about dealing with the issues of the doctors head on. And I think for me, this is a problem. And as I give my tackle today, our economy is actually experiencing a lot of problems today. our economy is actually affected by how our Kenya shillings is performing against the biggest international currencies. And I have seen this morning we are trading the Kenya shillings at 113 shillings against the dollar.
Yeah.
It is at its worst today. It means that today our debt, the national, international, and internal and external debt is going to increase by a whopping 60 billion today, because the Kenya shillings has just gone down another extra shilling. So therefore, I think this government ought to tell us what is the recovery program they are going to use to ensure that our economy stays afloat. I am yet to hear what the Economic Council is doing about bringing back our economy to the thriving levels it was. I have not heard the Minister for Finance coming to tell us the trajectory they are going to take to revive our economy. The only thing I have seen him come and say is Kenyans should prepare for more taxes come January. I mean, the only thing this government is thinking is about tax. The other day we were talking about, I realized.
Employment tax.
Yes, I realized BITOK. The other day I was calculating the duty I was to pay for a car I want to import. And I realized that they have introduced something called railway development tax. No, it's call it tax. And for a vehicle that will leverage at about 750,000.
What is a car doing on a railway?
No, see,
What is the relation?
ilisema import yote lazima any car import lazima ipitie kwa reli, inakuja in a certain the railway to nowhere. Hapo ndipo utakuwa ukienda kuchukua gari yako. Can you imagine if you are paying a duty of 750,000, 15,750 shillings is going to the railway development levy. As if you ask somebody to construct a railway and then come ask you to pay for it. You are paying 15,000 shillings to a railway that is going to nowhere, up to date. Because if you ask me, that railway is still going to nowhere. But any person importing a vehicle in this country is paying that railway development tax. And therefore, this government must think outside the tax regime. Already, the tax regime in this country is one of the worst. And we continue an employment tax. Mimi ni mfanyikazi wa serikali na gojewa nifanye hiyo employment tax.
Kwanza nangoje pesa yako.
It's crazy. So I want to ask this government that even as you think about the referendum, even as you think about building bridges initiative, even as you think about broadening the executive, even as you think about creating more seats for yourself, even as you think about flooding our parliament, it will be one of the most flooded parliament if this BBI was to become a reality. Even as you think all about all that, kindly consider that we, the young people who are in business, are suffering. We want to hear this government economic recovery program, how they intend to address the issues of those people who are in the medium level business and small businesses. This, BITOK, in the last 3 weeks, we have seen about 3 types of taxes being proposed by this government. And they are yet telling the youth that they will give them a 7-year tax holiday. That is a fallacy.
All right. Gloria.
You know, I happen to be part of the people who were affected by corona. By that I said that my father fell ill, and we were so terrified because he's 74. He has diabetes, you know, and we were so scared when we were told, Sasa, we have to go and seek medical attention. And that is when I actually realized. Unajua kuna vitu zingine tunakujanga tunaongea lakini sasa when you go there uko hapo kwa hospitali unaambiwa kuna kitanda kuna hivi unaona reality kabisa. You are like, take all my money, just put my father somewhere. Unaambiwa hata if we take this money itakunywa maji kwa sababu hakuna mali tunaweza kumweka. Or you're told, you know, this is the price of testing for COVID. And because saa zingine wakishuku, you know, for them they're also trying to protect themselves. So if they test and they're like, hey, hapana, huyu tumpatie another 2 days to test, then you are going to pay that cost of that second test. So I think that was the rude awakening, that we can come to studio, we can go on TV, uko kwa mtandao, tuongee, tuchape mdomo. Lakini hiyo corona ikikuja kwa mlango yako, is when you'll understand that your government is nowhere to be seen. And for me, that is the message I want to leave today. It's not about this conmanship of building bridges initiative. It is not about all this siasa and propaganda of nani alifanya nini. It's not even about Sakaja and his involvement with threatening people in office and whatever. I'm just saying, ile siku utakuwa hivi umepatikana na hiyo corona, ama your family member has actually been there with corona, and you are stranded and you are all wondering what to do, is when you will understand the role of government and why we are all alone. And in fact, I was saying, if I was not a Christian, if I did not really believe in the second coming of Jesus, mimi ningeomba tu kwa ule mtu tungekuwa tunaombea, tuseme hawa waheshimiwa wote wapatikane na hiyo ugonjwa, so that they can actually realize, upatikane nayo ukiwa uko mashinani, ati umeenda campaign kudanganya watu about collecting signature, upatikane pap, hakuna ambulance, hakuna level 4, hakuna level 5, upeleke kwa ile clinic yenye sisi tunaendanga, zile clinic za kijiji. Kwa hiyo clinic ukae uko hapo, unasema mheshimiwa but they don't have oxygen.
Kuna oxygen.
Wanasema mheshimiwa but hawana hata hiyo test ya corona. Wakimaliza kusema mheshimiwa, wakulete Lee Funeral Home kutoka mashinani kwa hiyo sanduku, so that people can wake up. And instead of going to parliament and saying, hey, we want to be escorted by choppers, nini, hamtakuwa na hiyo time, kwa sababu suddenly it becomes real. And it becomes that you are actually, instead of pushing for the things that we elected you to push, kazi yenu hapo tu ni kutafuta sijui helicopter, sijui nini. Mimi ningeomba sana, kama if I was not a Christian, ningeomba hawa waheshimiwa wote, from member of MCA, MP, Senate, wote wapatikane na hiyo corona, so that they can wake up. And they can actually feel that I can't breathe. Wakiambia watu I can't breathe, ndio ile siku atapona. Mwenye atapona, akipona tu hivi pap, anakimbia pale kwa hiyo constituency yake, anasema acha nikuambie, me, I am going to make sure this CDF is going to buy oxygen for this level 4 or this level 5. Because sometimes I think that is the awakening that our leaders need. And if we don't stand up and realize that maybe these leaders ni kama, unajua wanasema wame expire, wamepita hiyo shelf life. So that hata sisi tukikaa chini and we are losing our loved ones, or we are struggling, we can't breathe because we don't have oxygen, we don't have beds, tukumbuke tuibebe tu hiyo kwa kichwa yetu, tuikumbuke tuipeleke kwa ballot 2022. Alafu ukumbuke huyu member of parliament ama huyu governor
ako jenga hospitali,
ati ako hapa ako busy ananiambia ati piga tu kura, sijui tutakupea soda after wewe ukumbuke tu hiyo siku ulikuwa umeshikwa na hiyo corona mpaka umeshangaa ati you cannot breathe. Ukikumbuka hiyo kitu, I'm telling you, you are not going to vote for those people. You are going to vote for these young leaders. You're going to vote for some of us, we are even thinking maybe we'll vie. You are going to vote for people who understand that it is not, government is not about you as a person. Government, if when we are electing you, it is about you saying that I am, wanasemanga, God chosen leader. Mungu ameniweka hapa, na Mungu haezi taka wewe unaua watu. Mungu anataka you save the lives of those people and you empower them. So for me, my message today is, forget about this BBI. Forget about this political nonsense that is going on now. Because when you get sick and you get that COVID, what you will be thinking about is, how can I get out of this mess? And what you'll be thinking about is, unajua sasa hiyo huwezi fanya harambee. Utafanya harambee aje watu wali makazi zilisha nini? Hakuna harambee. Hapa utaanza kutuma ma message ati kwa WhatsApp group unatuingiza ati sijui my sister nini. Hakuna hizo message na hizo WhatsApp group mkianza. By the way, Muchedu, please share kwa mtandao a list of all the phone numbers of all these politicians. Ndio sisi tukipatikana na hiyo corona msitusumbue hapa friends. Munaingiza huyo mtu kwa group, munampigia simu, you make it their problem so that now these leaders can stand up and actually do something for this country.
Thank you so much guys for joining in. It was a pleasure to have you. It is actually always a pleasure to have you. For the tacklers who have been in, asante sana kuwaona. Niangalie comments hapa kidogo kabla hatujafunga kioski. Let me just see Laporil joins about listening clear and open minds. BBI has come and complicate and bring confusion in this country. Punguza Mzigo initiative is the way to go. Naona nani hapa William Mwangi, very sober panelist. That's what we call true patriotism, not love attached to selfish interest. Ernest Kiblagat, the BBI is about next generation. Max, I think I wrote this. Milton Oguti, I will do. I think I read for Milton. Emmanuel Oranja. Let me see. Comment I had not said. Abbas Martin, kindly address the Kenyans, not the chiefs, and I think I also read that. Kuna comments hapa siko zimeangalia. Arun Deto says we want such a panelists, not these guys like Mishungu. Umelewa Mishungu in absentia. Others say positive vibes jana parliament chayo here. Abbas Martin, the media should also stop making this assumption that the so-called BBI is about the rivalry between Ruto, Uhuru, and Raila. It's about the wrongs and the violations of the constitution and those leaders who are selfish. Abbas Nyugana says they want to postpone elections, ready to concentrate on fighting corona. Ernest Kiroga says, Bitok, with your panelists elaborate an election day. It's possible to do referendum 21 and have a general election in 22, bearing in mind there are more creation of continuity in this rubbish document. I think it will be impossible. Max Mara says, is Draga itasimama? Mark this post. Kimutaya thought the idea of the BBI is kind of a fake idea of telling people they have better control of their lives, yet their needs are overlooked and common sense solutions are being dismissed. Tom Jaffe, the lady, is making a lot of sense. Emmanuel Menge, we need to tie off and send the science of independence cabinet home. This masking boy, I'm following from Malindi, Kenya. I rejected. These people are taking us for a joke. I can say I'm watching from Mongwaya, place in Michezo, Grave Diggers. All right, I'll Muchendu, naona umepotea pia. Msema wewe ulikuwa umenipa clarification ya nini ya the chairmanship ya parliament. BBI is a different game. This is about destiny. Forget 2022. This has to die. Isaac Tirop says, I like the panelists. They are making sense. We really don't need these amendments at this moment. Leaders really don't feel how it's hard for Kenyans to put food on the table. Let's reject the BBI. Sammy K says BBI is a big no. Aska Mebur says GERALD BITOK can forgive Martha Karua. People evolve, all right. Wanaina, someone said this time around, please allow me to use my mind for a while. God following anyone is monster called BBI is for them, not for Wanjiku. What is there for is a sweetener and you kubali. After that, we are the ones to fund this government. Vincent Waitaka says we don't need this pill. We are not sick. They shall serve them and our traditional concussions. They better stay near the bushes. So you could read the comments. I also conducted a poll. Kulikuwa na mali ya, should the government force civil servants and Kenyans to give their BBI signatures? 98% wanasema no, alafu 2% wanasema yes. Have you given your BBI signature? 94% say no, 6% wanasema wamepeana signature ya BBI. Thank you guys. This is a tackle and the tackle ends now. See you again tomorrow. Bye bye and take care. Tutaonana kesho diaspora edition. Watu wa diaspora wako tayari pale kuja kuwazungumzia mambo ya diaspora. Kesho tuonane pale. This is a tackle and the tackle ends now. Bye bye and see you.